You're listening to the Get Out and Drive podcast, fueled by AMD, with your hosts, John, Custom Car Nerd Meyer, and Jason, Old Car Guy Car. We'll be bringing you gearheads everything you never wanted to know about cars and why they should be on the road and not in your garage. Are you ready to get out and drive?
John, listen and listen carefully. This is going to be the most talked about Get Out and Drive podcast episode ever.
Oh, hey kids, this is Jason with AMD. You're watching the Get Out and Drive podcast. Check this out.
We've had some fantastic stuff.
We have. We've always kept it lighthearted.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a lot of entertaining. We've talked to some really famous and some really wonderful people. But in this episode, we're going to get controversial.
Don't go political on me.
We're not.
Okay.
It is political, but we're not going political.
Got it.
We're going to try and keep as much of the government BS out of this topic as we can.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of government BS in this topic that we've got to kind of weed through.
All right.
If you don't know what I'm talking about and you're tired of listening to me ramble, today, on this episode of the Get Out and Drive podcast, fueled by AMD, we are talking about state and provincial vehicle safety inspections. Now, I know, you guys just got mad. Your blood pressure went up a few points because some of you are, oh no, the government shouldn't be getting involved in mandating anything. And some of you guys are like, yeah, there's a lot of crap on the road and we need to figure out a way to deal with it. We're breaking all of that down in this episode. We're talking a lot about government and their role in public safety. John, you live in Illinois.
Right.
Does Illinois have state vehicle inspections?
It does not have, and I don't know if it matters because I am in a Metro St. Louis-ish area, but take that bubble out of the equation. In Illinois, in general, I think you can get a VIN tag set up with license plates in Illinois, and they never have to see your car. It's so easy to get a car and get license plates for a car in Illinois, because I drive junk. I drive old junk. My newest car is an 89. As with every other state, vehicle inspection for vintage cars is from current date, 25 years old and older. They don't stick their nose in my business at all. None. That's one of the reasons why I do it. Newer cars have to have a emissions inspection where it's OBD2 only. They used to be a sniffer state. There's no mechanical visual inspection for any kind of emissions. There's no visual for emissions. There's nothing. If you have an OBD2 car, your check engine light is not on, and your vehicle says, super, you get a plate sticker. That's Illinois.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm in Eastern Canada. I'm in the province of New Brunswick. And as of, I believe, 2019, we left the annual inspections, and now we go to a biannual, which means once every 2 years. It is a safety. It's a vehicle safety inspection. We don't do sniff inspections or OBD2 inspections, emissions, none of that. We are a province of about 800 and change thousand people, and we are one of the few provinces left in Canada that still do motor vehicle safety inspections. I'm a used car dealer. We have to have our cars inspected as part of what we do, and because I am a repair shop, we do safety inspections. And I know a lot of people look at that and they say, well,
of course he'd be in favor of him. He's the one selling the inspection.
Well, I haven't told you whether I am or not. And in New Brunswick, what our safety inspection checks is it's kind of a go, no-go on brakes, meaning there is a recommended thickness that those brakes need to be to pass inspection. Tires have to be at least 330 seconds or higher, because at 230 seconds or at the wear bar, they're done. Suspension, is if there's play in the steering components, if there's play in the ball joints or the suspension components. Lights have to work. Horn has to work. All your windows have to work properly as intended. And your windshield cannot have any visible cracking or starring in the wiper area. So there's a lot of little things like that that we check. When it comes to lights on the dash, check engine lights, don't care. ABS lights and airbag lights, yeah, those are issues. So those are things that have to be looked after. And we all know as vehicles get older, a lot of that stuff becomes more prominent when it comes to lights on the dash or what have you. And the last thing is exhaust is one. When it comes to fluids leaking out of the vehicle, the only one that they really care about is fuel and brakes. So you can't have fuel visibly dripping out of the vehicle or brake fluid. So when you break all of that down and you look at the population versus the rest of Canada, we do biannual. Nova Scotia does biannual. PEI, Prince Edward Island, does still annual, and they're the only province that still does that. As we move into Newfoundland, they do annual inspections, I believe. Maybe I could be standing corrected on biannual, but they do safety inspections. Quebec and Ontario do not, unless you're moving into the province with your vehicle. Unless you're buying a vehicle, then it needs to be inspected. And then further west, I believe none of the provinces, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, or BC. You go up north into the Arctic and they don't do inspections up there either.
Remember when you used to go to swap meets and scour parts bins looking for that one elusive original part you had to take home to clean and repair? You just made more work for yourself.
It's true. I'm not a trained body man or metal fabricator, and neither is the majority of our enthusiasts that are working on their own projects at home in their garage. For me, finding high-quality replacement body panels, rust repair parts, trim, and weather stripping is key to making sure my project is ready to get out and drive.
AMD is the place to find restoration parts, including trim, glass, and weather stripping. When you are restoring iconic vehicles like the square body and OBS GM trucks, Mopar muscle cars, and Ford dent-side pickups, think of AMD. Whether you're a seasoned restorer
or a hobbyist tackling your first restoration, look no further than AMD. Visit autometaldirect.com and explore the AMD garage for helpful restoration tips, insider stories, and more. Be sure to use the code GOND when you place your order for a 10% discount exclusively for our listeners for a limited time. AMD, more than metal.
Where we are, John, like you, we get winter, but we get winter more severe in the Northeast than the rest of the continent. As far as freeze-thaw, lots of salt on the road. The further north you go, they get winter, it stays frozen all year long. And where we are on the coast, it's terrible. Cars rot out. And that's kind of where I draw the line with inspections. If it's rotten, you got to pay attention to that stuff. We don't want that stuff on the road. So I just did a lot of unpacking there with what we do here in New Brunswick. But the whole point of this episode is to find out from our viewers where they stand. If you guys don't follow me on social media, at oldecarrguy everywhere, I do daily shorts. And one of the topics I talked about the other day was just this. And y'all got pissed. You went off on a tangent, both sides. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. John, without asking you where you stand, obviously you come from a no inspection state, but what do you think about what I said with some of these safety concerns in a New Brunswick safety inspection? Where do you think some of that should or shouldn't pertain?
I think all vehicles should have an inspection because everyone is broke as hell, lazy, and they want to get by on as little as possible. I can't count how many stick-built front suspension, front-wheel drive cars I've seen with the left front wheel snapped off of it. Rolling down the highway doing 70 plus, and the left front wheel leaves the chat. All the time. I see it all the time. I comment on it to my wife every single time we're driving. And it's not from the vehicle being hit. It's because it spits out the left front wheel because the ball joints are wore out on it. And we can see vehicles that are 2000, 2005, 2006 kind of sneaks up. And we go, oh, we haven't seen one of those before. And it was a 2012, whatever you want to call it. Do I want government overreach in my house? Do I want government overreach in my car? No. Do I want government overreach in everybody else's car? Most certainly. Because they're stupid and lazy and they don't want to fix their car at all because they're broke. Because I don't want to be out there on the road with somebody else that's going to have the front wheels snap off their car. Hell, we had a big crash, and because a Dodge Neon spit the front steering rack out of it, and both wheels were ka-chow hanging out the front of the car. And there it is, dead in the water. And you can't tell me that person didn't realize that their car drove like Fozzie Bear Studebaker and they didn't know it. They just did it to get by. And people that don't flat out don't want to use their car for anything but a transportation appliance, they ain't going to put no money in their car. The only reason that new cars are staying on the road is because they're made out of better quality material and they're made to last longer. And they're going to go a zillion miles. It used to be 100,000 miles on a car. You get another one. Now cars are going 2, 3, 400,000 miles. And some of these idiots don't change the oil for 60,000 miles.
And you hit a couple of topics that I wanted to bring up based on some of the conversation that was going on in the comments of those videos that I had posted. And one of them, Adam Wilson, says they could just do it themselves. Mandated inspections are dumb. So basically I think what he's trying to say is if you just look after your own shit, then you'll be fine. And then Lee Installer commented and replied to him saying, well, sometimes you have to mandate safety because people are so dumb. You hit on both of those topics. A lot of people just don't have the wherewithal to kind of self-govern the safety of their own vehicle, whether it's because they just don't have the knowledge, whether it's because they just don't care. Maybe they are dumb. But in a lot of cases, I think that we find that it's none of those. It all comes down to money. And in 2025, at the day of this recording, I think I can speak for everybody when I say, when it comes to money, there just seems to be less and less of it today. So we're all out here, we're driving our vehicles, we're driving them longer than we maybe normally would. You and I are exemptions, John, because we do drive the older stuff. But those people who buy a new car every 3 or 4 years, because of the supply chain issues that took place during the pandemic, seemed to trickle on further. So they said, you know what? I can't buy a new car because there's none there. And if I do, the interest rates are so sky high, I can't afford to do that. But now that my car is paid for, I'm just going to keep driving it. So now they don't have car payments. They have maintenance issues. And I'm going to put this in here too, John. I'll let you speak to it as well. This is a lesson to everyone. If you don't schedule maintenance for your car will schedule the maintenance for you.
Oh, most certainly at the worst possible time.
Worst possible time.
I heard that from somebody. I don't even know who said that. A long, like we're going back probably 30, 35 years ago. I heard that, and it sticks with me. More comments in the comment section. People are saying, well, look, I am competent. I can look after my own vehicle. Why should I have to go get my vehicle inspected and pay money to have someone do it? To that, I say, A, I'm with you. I am competent. I can maintain my own vehicle. But even if I can maintain the 4 or 5 vehicles that I own, I don't maintain every vehicle that's coming at me head on down the highway.
You are right. I'm going to break this down for people that may be a little bit slow. Now,
and for those in the back,
I'm going to speak more clearly and louder. Do you live in a neighborhood with an HOA? Do you know why HOAs are created? HOAs are created because of this one or two jackasses that decide they want to paint their house purple with spots on it, or they want to do no yard maintenance, or they don't want to do anything to their yard. Every neighborhood has them, unless you're in an HOA. Some guy that just bought his house 40 years ago and they grew a tube of crap in the front yard and you cannot see the house anywhere. Now, relate that to vehicles. Same thing, same exact thing. If you didn't have the HOA governing over the top of you, you might be that person that's going to have the tube of crap in your front yard and trees that no one can see your house, which devalues your house, which devalues your neighbor's house. Now, and you can apply that if you buy a car and you don't do nothing to it forever. It devalues your car. It also devalues the performance of your car, and it devalues everybody else's car when your piece of junk has parts that fly off it and smash into 30 other people and a busload of nuns and puppies. Easy to transfer those two things.
It is for sure. The biggest thing that I get out of a lot of these comments, I'm going to read another one here from Instagram from a fella called Old Rugged. And he says, inspections are good, but should never be done by a company that provides the repair. So maybe an independent agency that does this. Big conflict of interest. Too many times they say something needs to be repaired just to make money. And I know I do all my own work, and they say that I just need a part that I know I just replaced. Look, I am not making light of the fact that there are a lot of crooked shops out there. I was accused of being one myself in the comments of these videos. And I'll tell you, we are looking out not only for the best interest of the customer, but we're also looking out for the best interest of us as the people putting these stickers on. I put a sticker on your car saying it passes. My mechanic, who is licensed by the province, or in your guys' case, the state, to say, yes, when this vehicle left, it met all the criteria the government said it needed to pass a safety. Does that mean that that car is safe? Not in my opinion. On the moment he put that sticker on there, he deemed that based on the criteria the government set, it got a sticker.
Of course, there is a minimum value for everything. The rules are made, even in racing anything, NASCAR or whatever. You don't race the guy next to you, you race the rule book.
And in these cases here, it's hard for me as the shop or as the shop owner to defend that because, A, we have to be strict because it's our name and our livelihood being put on that piece of paper that says it's good. Right? You drive down the road after you leave my shop and take out a family of 4 because your brakes failed. Who are they going to come to? They're going to say, you just inspected that like less than 24 hours ago. So we've got to be strict. We've got to do that. And we're not strict, despite what everyone's going to say. We are not strict because we're in the business of making money on car repairs. We're strict because we need to protect our livelihood.
That's true, but either end of the spectrum, you have to see that there's the guys that used to go and look the other way and get inspections done.
Now, here's a $100 bill.
That's correct. And
Right,
I know the system. You know, I was not because I don't like mechanical work. Grease, gross. I was in shops that had mechanical inspections, and I was never a licensed inspector. But I knew all of the hoops that you had to jump through. And I've had enough vehicles that I need to jump through those hoops. Both ends of the spectrum, there are people that will take a $100 bill and clock in for the half an hour and walk around your car and do the inspection. And then you get to zoom out of there. There's always going to be those shady places. There's always going to be the shady places that try and take advantage of the people that don't know any better. I can guarantee if you wanted to be a stickler about anything, you would not pass one car because you could check the wiper blades. You could check the brake minimum pads and rotors. You could check every single thing. And I can guarantee a car that's more than 1 or 2 years old, I could make sure that that vehicle would not pass inspection by the book that the government puts out for the shops to adhere to. Since we're talking about safety inspections, I want to give a shout out to our neighbors in the Fenton Industrial Court. The guys at Velocity Pump Rentals listen to the podcast as they get out and drive while they're making deliveries. Thanks for listening and supporting our podcast.
Like, let's go back to Buddy's comment, who says that the company that does the inspection should not provide the repair. And a couple of things. I want to add to that is there's another fella that says if it's going to be mandated, then make it free.
Wow.
Entice people to go get it done. So if it's free, I'm just going to get the inspection.
But who's going to pay for all of that?
The state or the province should pay the garage to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you think about having an independent government agency or whatever do those inspections, just like the DOT for commercial trucks? What do you think? Like, if you're going to have it and mandate it, okay, we mandate it. It's free. So now you take it to a government agency and they, like you just said, it's their job to be bureaucrats
mm-hmm.
and nitpick for the public safety.
Mm-hmm.
What say you?
Independent inspections, I think, are a really, really good idea. But there's always going to be something that you can find on a car. I think it's a good idea. But I don't understand how that would work, because if you have independent inspectors, they're not supposed to be on one side or the other. They're not supposed to be, not supposed to be selling services that they find. I think that's great, but I don't think that's going to work. I know in Missouri, I had independent inspection stations. They used to do smog, sniffer tests, dyno testing. They used to drive cars on the dyno, and I had a little Dodge Omni, 4-cylinder, 5-speed. That thing never saw over 4,000 RPM. For whatever reason, people that were working there thought it was a great idea, and they did not have any idea how to drive a stick, and nobody wanted to work there. They were hiring 18, 20-year-olds at the time, and they broke the actual shifter connecting mechanism on the transmission, and they revved the hell out of that thing, and they made it not work how I did in the real world. And I thought they abused the car, and I thought that was terrible. And that inspection system in Missouri, ironically, when it came through in the 90s, was the whole situation was purchased from Texas, that it didn't work at all then either. And it was used to Missouri. And there was many people that had problems with the independent inspectors, for their cars were breaking while they were trying to test them.
So let's go to the other side of that coin and say, let's not mandate inspections. There goes the cost, there goes the cash grab. However, there's got to be a way to somehow curb the junk that's floating around out there on the roads. If I can find the comment, I'll post it up here on the screen. One commenter said that we don't need yearly or biannually safety inspections. We need more highway checks on the side of the road, just like they do with commercial vehicles. So when the police roll up on your clunker and you've got the death wobble on your Dodge Ram, or your Jeep is going down the road and you're fighting the steering wheel, if they see that, then they have every authority to pull you over, do a stage 1, 2, 3, whatever they call it in the commercial world, inspection, and decide right then and there whether your vehicle is safe. If it is not, it gets towed at your expense. So, okay, so we don't mandate inspections, but we give more authority to the Department of Transportation or to public safety or peace officers to kind of help do that on the side of the road, or in, obviously you want to do it in safe locations, but you find somebody, you pull them over, you check their vehicle. If it's not safe, off it goes, and you're fined. We're like, okay, no, you're not fined. Let me take that out of the equation for the guys who are going to say, "Oh, it's just another cash grab."
I was going to go there. All right,
Yeah.
I'm listening.
So let's take that out, and let's say the police officer basically says, I've checked your car. It is unsafe. It's going to be towed. Where would you like it towed? Back to your house? Fine. It's at your expense." So the cop's not making any money on it for the government. The tow truck company, maybe you get to call your own tow truck company. I don't know. Either way, the car gets towed, and the repairs need to be done before it can be back on the road. That's the other side of that coin. Where should the government be focusing their attention when it comes to public safety?
This is a fine line. This is a very hard, biased subject. And I think that's the mindset of everybody that drives a car. The only time you get new tires is when your tires are bald, fly off, or you crash because you had a tire blowout. That's the only time people get new tires. Build date number on the side of the tire, can it be no more than 5 years old? In my eyes, I don't want to be driving on tires more than 5 years old. I can drive. I personally have cars that have tires older than 5 years old, and they look brand new because they've been stored inside, because there's 100 other reasons, whatever. Should I trust that tire? Probably not. And I'm going to keep saying this 100 times. I think a lot of people are lazy, and you can't trust them. The people that are lazy and don't want to do work on their car, don't want to have inspections, don't want to have anything, that's what leases are for. A lease gets you out of that whole situation. You get to whip it off into the next year, get a new car, take your old one and toss it in the trash, whatever. It's no different than buying a brand new Porsche, buying a brand new Mercedes. People buy these things and they have zero intent to take care of them. They have 100% intent on driving the thing until the ashtray is kind of full. Maybe now people don't smoke. Maybe you stick coins in it or some trash from Starbucks. But as soon as the ashtray is full, they chuck that thing and they get another brand new car because it's new and it won't give them problems.
So we've looked at the side of the coin that says, yes, we must inspect. We've also kind of dived in to the side of the coin that says, no, we don't want to mandate it. We don't want that overreach, but we still want something. We still want some feel good fuzziness. You're driving down the road and the guy beside you is not going to have a wheel fall off and take you out. Kia Soul and flipping. Or remember that video that played?
Oh, that the Brodozer, that wheel that flew off and the Kia flipped over.
We're trying to eliminate arguments here over inspections. So either we do it or we don't. Okay, so if we do, this is what it looks like. If we don't, this is what it looks like. Well, let's look at the actual safety of why some states still do this. The ACI put out a study, and they wanted to see whether safety was actually a factor in states that had inspection versus states that didn't. They basically said there was no conclusive evidence that said vehicles that mandate state safety inspections for your vehicles were safer than states or provinces, and they were talking about states because in the US, that didn't. And I thought that was actually strange. How can that be? Well, the way they measure that is based on incidents. So when there's an accident, what was the cause of the accident? Was it a cause of mechanical failure, driver mistakes, falling asleep, emergency health incident where they had a medical emergency? And basically what it boiled down to was that the mechanical breakdown was such a small number in the average crashes of those states. There was no significant evidence to prove that if you mandate safety inspections, your state is going to have less accidents.
Mandate the hands-free with the phones and devices, and you'll notice a difference. People crash because they ain't paying attention out the giant windshield in their car. And they smash into everybody on the highway.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother video. That's a whole nother episode, because again, I did a short video talking about technology where you're not allowed to have your cell phone in your hand or using your cell phone while you're driving, but yet Tesla, you've got to be a tech major to pop the friggin' glove box or to control your radio or do whatever, because it's got this great big giant ass screen in the middle that takes your eyes off the road to make those adjustments. And don't look at me, all you Tesla guys that say, oh, you can control all that from your steering wheel. You can't.
No.
You've got like 3 buttons on the steering wheel, and none of them adjust anything to do with the friggin' great big giant tablet in the middle of your car. So that's a whole other episode. We're getting off topic, but talking about safety is, like when it comes to safety, what mandates do need to be in place? Are they the roadside mandates that say, okay, there's no law, but I did observe you driving unsafe with your phone in your hand. You know, I witnessed you cross that double solid line in the middle. You were swerving. Why? Well, it's because you've got the death wobble on your Dodge Ram. And at those points, there's got to be a point that there's a mandate of sorts. Look, guys, I'm with you. I am not for the government telling me how to live my life. But I wear a seatbelt not because it's the law. I wear a seatbelt because I believe that it's safe. Right? I do own vehicles with and without airbags. Does that change the way I drive? No. I drive the same in my Suburban as I do in my Crown Vic. I'm a cautious driver. I do my best to keep both hands on the wheel. You know, I'm constantly scanning around at the cars behind me. I'm looking in the rearview mirror. I'm looking at the side view mirrors. You know, I pay attention. Do I still cross the line once in a while? Well, you know what? Everybody does. But you do your best. And the more that you keep your eyes peeled, the less you're going to be distracted. And when it comes to safety on your car and whether or not having a rust hole in your rocker panel permits it being failure on your motor vehicle safety inspection, or the fact that you've got brake lines the size of your pinky finger because they're so swollen and flaky, are they leaking? No. So should they pass? Subjective. And there's so many gray areas when it comes to stuff like that. But like, where do we draw the line?
No, I'm not a boater. I'm not an avid boater. I've been on a boat. You know, how does this work with boats? Does nobody look at the boats ever of how, if they're leaking or anything at all? Is there any, and maybe viewers can tell me, is there any inspection, visual or anything with a boat?
I can't speak to that because I am not a boater, but I have a lot of friends who are, and I know that they've got boats that they go pluck out of the field somewhere, stick a motor on it, and if it
floats,
runs,
it goes.
Exactly. As long as you keep it moving, it ain't going to sink. As soon as you stop, well, it's on you. It's up to you to self-police. And there's more and more evidence of policing within the boating worlds. In Canada now, you have to get a boater's license now to have anything with a motor in the water.
I see.
Or an engine, should I say. But
don't start with me.
The whole point is, when it comes to not just your safety, but the safety of those around you, I'm of the belief that there's got to be something there from the government that says, look, we truly are just looking out for your safety and the safety of those around you. Whether there's money involved or not everything the government does is a conspiracy or a money grab or a scam. Like, I'm of the belief that, look, if you can't maintain your own vehicle, you've got to have somebody do it for you. You've got to have faith that that person is doing the job that you've asked them to do. If you've gotten screwed over or you're getting screwed over, that's on you to make sure you don't let that person do it again. What's that old saying? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice.
Don't be fooled again. Now, Jason, we talk about government overreach and all that jazz. I keep trying to make this because my brain is so stuck on cars, trucks, whatever, vehicles. There's a reason why building codes exist. There's a reason why if people want to do something, they got to get permits, which they're getting a third-party inspector coming in to make sure you're not building a pool in your backyard out of cardboard. They're trying to make sure you're not building a skyscraper, out of Connects or Legos and cover it in concrete. Because I guarantee people would do something stupid if they were left to their own. It 100% applies. It's the same thing.
You look at the shanties in a lot of these third world countries that are just shacks, just thrown together for the sake of keeping a roof over their head. Now, I get it. Third world countries, they're very poor people. They use their resources what they can. Clearly, no government overreach there. They're living in poverty, but
I believe squalor is the word you're looking for.
There you go, right? Like when it comes to public safety, there's got to be a thing. That's why we have, like you said, building codes, fire codes, right? When it comes to you're building your own driveway on a new piece of property, you can't just go stick a culvert in.
And why do these things exist? Why do building codes exist?
Because somebody effed up somewhere once upon a time.
Yes, because somebody wants to save money. Somebody wants to be a shyster. Somebody is flat out not educated, and I don't want them wiring a house next to mine.
All those who think OSHA is a load of malarkey, raise their hand. However, it's a necessary evil. I say that because, as a company owner, we don't have OSHA in New Brunswick. We have something similar. It's called workers' comp, or it's public safety is part of that. Like, we have to pay into that as a business for our employees as a protection for them should they get hurt on the job. Right? A, we hate to see them get hurt. But B, how bad or how much do we enforce some of these stupid little rules that they have? But they're there. And if we don't follow them, we are the ones at risk.
You want to talk about OSHA for a tiny little second? I had them come into my body shop. I invited them in so that I wouldn't be surprised. OSHA's here. I used their program and I invited them in. Now, paint and body shop has paint and all sorts of things, right? And I talked to an OSHA inspector and I said, is paint on a car hazardous material? No, because it's a product. Is paint on a towel or a rag or a piece of paper hazardous material? Yes. Why is it different? He would not tell me. Paint in a can without a lid is waste.
But again, we bring up OSHA to talk about necessary evils. Car insurance. We all hate to pay it. It's so bloody expensive. Some states, like New Hampshire, don't require it. And guys, the whole reason why we're on this topic is because recently New Hampshire announced that come January 31st, 2026, they will do away with safety inspections. That's what got me on this topic with my social media. This is what got us together here tonight. Some of us do believe that these are necessary evils. I'm gonna stake my claim right now and say that I believe that annual, at the very least, biannual safety inspections on motor vehicles are a necessary evil. I can look after my stuff. I know my vehicles are safe, so I wouldn't put her life at risk. Therefore, I'm not going to put yours either. But I am the only person on this planet that I trust.
Well, sure.
Right.
If I was forced to answer that, I would say I would want vehicle inspection. 100%. Because I want my stuff looked after, and I also want the idiot coming at me looked after.
I think we're both on the same page on this, John. We hate the fact that the government has to have a say. But when it comes to public safety, when it comes to other people's stupidity or lack of care or respect for other drivers on the road. There's a point where something's got to be done. And also, guys, if you are listening to this on the podcast and you want to see some visuals of what we're actually talking about here, head on over to YouTube to Get Out and Drive, because this is where we show off a lot of the things that we talk about. Sometimes it's neat to just listen. It's even better to visualize it. Don't forget to pick up your beer koozie or t-shirt at shop.oldecarrguy.com. Use OCG10 for 10% off your order. I'm going to end this episode with a small clip from the Canadian YouTube channel Just Rolled In. And you guys can determine for yourself whether or not you think these people should be allowed on the road without inspections. John, this was a great topic. We rambled on here for 45 minutes, and I think that we covered a lot of topics. We tried to be as unbiased as possible and looking at a lot of different angles from different people's points of view based on the comments that were in those videos that I did. What was your biggest takeaway from this whole thing?
My biggest takeaway is that the people that are complaining about it the most are going to be the biggest abusers of the system.
There you go, folks. We've said it. We've talked about it. We tried to cover every angle. We tried to hit every nail on the head.
If people have a different opinion, and I'm sure they're going to, comments, man, hit them. Hit us with comments.
If you're listening to this on our podcast and you feel like you have a talk-worthy subject that we need to discuss, make sure you head on over to getoutndrive.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page at our listener hotline. Tell us exactly what's on your mind, and we will do our best to research it and come up with as much information as we can to argue both sides. John, this is great. I love doing this. I can't wait for the next episode.
Me too.
Roll the Just Rolled In.
Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of Just Rolled In.
Customer states, my car started making a noise after I left Panera. This customer came in with his Maserati after he had big issues with his tie rods. The customer said that they had bought the tie rods from Temu. This is how this customer's car was brought to the shop for its yearly inspection.
Customer states they got a noise while driving. Well, that looks wrong. Can't be the noise. Let me walk over to the other side and, Yep. Yeah, they look.
When this car was brought in for its MOT inspection, the mechanic found that this rear control arm was very poorly welded and had a couple of door hinges, nails, and a chisel welded to it. This car rolled into the shop with the customer complaining his car had been struggling with grip lately. Customer states their steering is making a farting noise. The body shop had replaced the steering rack after the crash, but did not program the new rack. When the vehicle was driven to the dealership with the fuse pulled, it damaged the new rack. This car was just purchased and came in for an oil change and 4 tires. The technician found the baking sheet to be full of rags catching the oil and RTV to stop the leak. Customer states her vehicle doesn't stop like it used to. The rotor had completely separated. The customer was an elderly lady that did not have the money for the repairs, so the shop repaired it for free so she could stop safely. This vehicle came in for some tire issues. The technician found nose pliers from the frame and wondered whether they belonged to the customer or another shop.
Are you ready to get out and drive in 2025? Get those cars on the road on October 5th, 2025 to celebrate National Get Out and Drive Day. Visit nationalgetoutndriveday.com for more info. Cruise on over to our website, getoutndrive.com, for all the info you never wanted to know about our podcast. Hit us up on our listener hotline, be the first to know what's happening, get industry news, and grab your Get Out and Drive merch. Connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us on X at getoutndrivepod.
What drives you?